All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Heart to Heart podcast. This is the sixth episode of the third season. My name's Hafiz, and today we have a special guest, Hollywood Capone. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Please don't make this complicated. What about the time we wasted on our love?
All right, so let's jump right into the gaming aspect of it. For anyone who doesn't know how this game works, we ask each other three lighthearted questions, and we have to incorporate three random answers into each question, three random words into each question. Are you ready to get started?
I'm ready to play. I can't
All
wait.
right, let's go. All right, so my first question is, which of these three fruits are your favorite? Watermelon, mango, or banana? And your words are go, simplicity, and withdraw.
Okay, this is a pretty easy one for me because bananas are my go-to fruit. Just because of the simplicity of the fruit itself. All you have to do is grab it, unwrap it, and you're ready to go. So if I'm gonna eat a banana, a lot of times I'll grab it off the counter, withdraw to the kitchen, eat my banana, and there I'm at.
Yes, that's a great answer. Although for me personally, as much as I love the convenience of a banana, on a hot summer day, watermelon's the way to go. Yeah, but but yeah, I agree with you. All right.
Okay, if you went to the movies on a date, would you buy popcorn, candy, or nachos? Blind, Empire, and Opposed.
Okay. So I would probably um okay, first off, I'd be opposed to nachos. All right. I haven't built my empire yet and got like a crap ton of money yet. So I'm kind of not quite there yet. Um, I'm not blind to the fact that I do have money to spend on popcorn though, because popcorn's a bit easier. Um, if money was unlimited and I was doing well physically, I would go for nacho. But unfortunately, it is very because I've been pretty health conscious recently. I would stick with popcorn, maybe just like a small size popcorn, just so I'd enjoy it a bit, but like not take it too far. Yeah.
Bravo,
All
well
right.
answered.
Thank you. All right. My next question for you is what was your favorite TV show growing up? And your words are Headquarters, Courage, and Deliver.
Hmm. My favorite TV show growing up was Bugs Bunny. I like Bugs Bunny because Bugs Bunny had all the courage in the world. He could get into a situation and basically work his way through and get through it with sarcasm, and he would deliver the punchline and say something funny so that everybody would laugh, especially if you're a little kid. And I especially like this one episode where Bugs Bunny gets into the headquarters of this big giant orange monster up in this castle, and he winds up actually towards the end of the cartoon winds up doing the monster's hair and actually does like a blow dries his hair and even does a manicure on him.
Damn. You remember that episode, eh? That's amazing.
I pulled it right out of my hat.
Fair enough, fair enough.
So your three words are going to be nominate, stunning, and claim. And here's the question. If you were crossing the ocean on a sailboat, would you rather be with a lover or a friend?
That's a deep question. So okay, hold on. I'm gonna take both.
Okay.
I would like to experience it in different situations, different times. First with my friend, because hear me out. As stunning as it is, I would nominate my friend to come with me first because it's I'm new to it, right? So it's like a new experience. I kind of want to get a feel for it, right? I want to get an idea of how it works. So when I go back with my lover, I could claim that I know how it works, and I'll be there to be that person who could support her. That's why I would take friend first, so I could just like get a feel for it and mess up a lot on there, and then take lover and just enjoy it. So that's how I would roll.
Right on. Practice
Great.
first. I like it.
There you go. Thank you. Great question. Um, all right. My last question for you is, what is the weirdest thing you have eaten? And your words are jungle, pain, and weak.
All right, here it goes. This is an easy one because I remember the weirdest thing I've eaten like it was yesterday. I was very young and I was living in Los Angeles and I was working as a mechanic and I was new to this company and I was just barely making friends. And it was a hard time for me because financially I was in a lot of pain. I didn't have anything, any money to spend on anything, but whatever money I did have, I had to spend very carefully. And I guess in a way, I could say my wallet was weak, and so was my financial situation. Um, but Los Angeles can be kind of a jungle, so you have to be careful how you make friends, and you have to make them when you can. And I met some guys at work, and they talked me into having brain tacos. And there was a bunch of Spanish guys, Mexican guys at the time, and so I actually ate brains in a taco, and it was called tacos con sesos, sesos tacos con todos, which means with everything. So I had brain tacos with onions, cilantro, and tomato and salsa.
Now, when we say brain, well, please tell me we're not talking about a human brain.
No, well, I
Thank
think we're talking.
God. Okay.
I think we're talking about calf brains, but even
Still
I'm not
not
really
any better.
sure.
Not any better.
Not much
Still
better.
not. Nah.
But that was a one-time experience, only one time.
I'm happy it's only a one-time experience. I mean, could have been a lot worse. All right.
All right, my last question for you. Here it goes. Can you say a rhyme while skipping down the sidewalk? And your words are reach, iron, and control.
Okay, I try to reach pretty high levels. It does take a lot of control. Um, but I don't know if I could. I mean, I think I could. Maybe if the ground is made of iron, that might give me a little boost to reach it. Now that I think about it, I probably could. It probably wouldn't be good, but I could. Am I expected to do it right now? I just want to clarify this.
No expectations.
Got it.
I'm your guest, so whatever
Okay.
works.
Okay, because I don't know if I could do it right now, but like at some point, yeah, I probably could. If I was like fully in the zone and ready to do it, yeah, I probably could. Yeah. Awesome. That's a good question. All right. Would you like to
It's
tell
fun.
us a little bit? Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely fun. Yeah, you did well, by the way. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Hollywood Capone. I call myself an accidental author. I wrote and published my first book last year, and I published the audiobook version of it just this last summer. So it was a big thing for me. I've been in and out of different careers my whole life. I've been a professional photographer for the last 12 or 13 years. And this is kind of a transitionary thing for me. I'm still doing photography and other things like that creatively, but writing the book was a big step for me, and kind of took me off into a different place as far as doing something different in my life, and I've been around for a while. I've sung in rock and roll bands. I've lived in Los Angeles. I've lived in New York. I've been so many different places and had so many different experiences that kind of lend themselves to actually writing stories. And I never realized it until I finally wrote this story. And it's one of those things where it's like a feather in my cap, or another box checked off on things to do with this life, and that's really why I'm out there in the world. I'm talking about the book, but I'm talking about other things too. I'm writing a play right now. I'm writing my second book, which is I'm having so much fun with that. I can't even tell you. It's the thing about writing books that makes it cool for me is that you can be anything, or you can do anything, or your characters can do anything. It can be anything you want them to be. There's no boundaries. There's no constraints. As long as the story makes sense and it's fun, then you're having fun with it. And that's pretty much at this point in my life who I'm at right now.
Yeah, that's amazing. How is living in New York and living in Los Angeles? And what's the biggest thing that you learned from moving from one place to another about,
Mm.
let's just say, life in general, or your
You,
personal experience? Yeah.
the funny thing about LA and that area too, Southern California, Orange County, all that. It's funny because the same thing applies to the people out here. Is that when I go out there, I don't live out there now, but I used to live out there. But I still love going out there. I love the palm trees. I love the beaches. I love the weather. The people are interesting. When I go out there, when I meet people that are uh, original residents of Southern California, the things that they don't notice boggle my mind. I mean, they know the beaches are there. They know the beaches are great, but they look at them like they're just like, it's just a beach, or it's just a palm tree, or the mountains are like, it's just the mountains. And the same thing applies to people out here too. People from the New York area. We have a lot of big trees outside the city, and the weather's cold, and we have wind, and we have fall, we have seasons, all four seasons here. And the people here look at those things like, oh man, I wish it was warm all the time, or they get bored with the seasons or whatever. So it's this juxtaposition between the two sides of the country, where each side of the country seems like it likes the other side a little bit more. It's very strange when you have a life on both coasts.
Yeah, I think that's actually alluded to the idea of grass is greener on the other side. When in
Yeah.
reality, if you just take a closer look at what you have and appreciate more of what you have, you'll start to truly see the greatness that you're living in. Um, so you said you had multiple careers, right? And photography was one of them.
Sure, sure.
What got you into photography?
I was working in the car business and I was making a living at it, but I hated it. It was something that I was doing every day because the pay was good, and I had, my wife and I were younger. We had two young kids, and you have to make money. You have to support your household, and you have to do the things that you have to do. And it was a job that always provided for me. I'd go to work, I'd work hard, and I could bring home a check, and we could pay our bills and save some money and whatnot. But I reached a point where I wanted to do something different, and so I took some acting classes, right? So I wound up in a couple really bad movies. I mean, they were just awful. And but I came to this idea. I'm like, okay, I want to get on the other side of the camera, and maybe I can make a go of that. So I bought some very expensive cameras, and then all of a sudden I had to pay for them. And I had this idea. I was like, well, I'll pay for them by shooting weddings. So I started going out and shooting weddings, and then I got good at it. My phone started to ring, and then I started to get booked pretty regularly. And next thing I know, I had myself a job on my hands, and that's more or less how it started. And then I started doing other things too, like portrait work, actors' headshots. And to this day, I still do a lot of like creative things. I like to do landscape photography and still life and things like that. And it's a big part of who I am. I just kind of molded into that and became part of it. And now even though I'm writing and I'm doing other things, photography is still a big thing for me. I enjoy it more than I could possibly even tell you.
That's amazing. I just have to ask this question. Have you done a photo shoot with yourself?
Oh, I have done a couple, and I never like the way they turn out, for two reasons. One, I don't photograph well, and the second reason is that it's weird photographing yourself because you know all your flaws, and then, or at least I do, and I'm always trying to hide that or compensate for it. Whereas I have some other photographs that have been taken of me by people that I know. Like I think I sent you a photograph too. That was actually taken by a friend of mine. His name is John Ilio, a photographer, and he took it off the cuff. We were at a party together. We were both working this party, and there was a Christmas tree, and the Christmas tree was behind me. And if you see the photograph, there's lights behind me, but you can't really tell it's a Christmas tree. And it's just the way he shot it. He had me in this perfect light, and he took the shot, and I love the shot, and I didn't take it. Somebody else took it for me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now I want to talk a bit more about your book. What inspired you to get into it?
You know, the my book, my first book was an accident, literally. A friend of mine I've known since the fifth grade, and I'm older, so that's a long time. You know, we were friends our whole lives. His mom was my math teacher in school, and I just had this connection with him since very, very young, you know, 10, 11 years old, whatever it was. And and later in life, just 2 years ago, he fell off a roof and died suddenly. And it was a very hurtful time for me. I was having some difficulty with it, you know, and I didn't know how to really work my way through it, because I've had that experience in my life a number of times with people dying, but you know, they were sick, or there was usually some sort of lead up to it. This just happened so suddenly, and it was one of those that you don't see it coming, and I never even imagined it. So I was having some difficulty with it, and one day I sat in front of the computer, and I opened up a document in Pages on my Mac, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to write a paragraph telling myself how I'm feeling about this, you know. And that paragraph turned into two, and then it turned into a chapter, and that chapter turned into two chapters. And next thing you know, I had a story on my hands, and it worked out. I mean, look, it's not some epic work of Hemingway or any of the great writers, but it's a cool story, and I kind of weave in and out with the reality of what happened to him, with a fictional take on what happened to him. And in the end, as you read the story and you get to the end of the book, I think that you kind of figure out what I'm feeling about it too. And it was like one of those things where I could, once I finished the book and I published it, I closed that chapter on that hurt, and I let it go, and it made it easier for me, a lot easier.
Would you say that was the best part of writing the book, or is there something else that you feel is the best aspect of the whole book writing process?
You know, it was a big challenge for me, because first of all, I've never written a book before, so I didn't even know what I was doing, and I wrote it all wrong. I wrote it in a Pages document, so it wasn't formatted as a book. It was just written as like one page after another page after another page. So that was really a challenge once I got finished with it, because I had to proofread everything and then have it formatted for, you know, production. So that led me down some different paths, which I had to correct along the way. But the experience as a whole was just this fabulous learning experience for me, because I never in 100 years would have dreamt that I would write something and actually publish it. And I did, and I'm selling some books. I mean, I'm not getting rich off of it, but they're out there and people are reading them, and that's really all I can ask for. And then the B side of that was, later on, after I published the paperback, I decided to do an audiobook version. And I got to tell you, that was so hard. It was harder than writing the book. It was harder than producing and publishing the book. It was the hardest thing I ever did. It took me like 9 months to record this thing, to the point where, because I did it with my own voice and I hate my voice, to get it to the point where it was something that I felt like, okay, I can put this out there now. It took forever.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. So are you past that stage right now of hating your voice? Because I know everyone goes through that, but like after a certain time of like constantly doing it, you come to accept it, right? Have you hit that stage yet?
Well, I tell you what I did. I By doing that audiobook, I mean, you're a guy that's on the mic a lot, so you might kind of see this a little bit, is that I found a place with my voice that I began to say, okay, here's how my voice can work. You know, how I enunciate things, you know, my phrasing, how I pronounce different words and vowels too. And one big challenge for me too is the way I write. Uh, I think my writing is very creative, it's very descriptive, but when you write, you're not writing to speak the words, you're writing to read the words. A lot of things I write, when you string those words together, it it's very difficult to say, you know.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that. Um, yeah. What's the main lesson that you want people to get from that book? What's like the takeaway that you're like, okay, everyone who reads this, I want you to take this away from it.
Oh, that's real easy. The thing to take away from the book is the people that you care about that are close to you, around you, family or friends or relationships, whatever they are. If they're important to you, you need to let these people know that they are important to you. Someone that you care about. You tell them you love them from time to time. Someone you haven't talked to in a while. Pick up the phone. Hey, what's going on? I haven't talked to you in a while. How's things? Blah blah blah. Whatever it is. Because and here's the reason. Because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And the same thing. In my situation with my friend, um, I was talking to him one day, and one day later he was gone. And thankfully, him and I had this great close relationship where I don't ever really remember us ever being angry with each other more than a couple minutes. But if it was a situation where maybe we hadn't talked in a while, and then he passed, I would have been you know really hurt by that. So I mean, in the end, that's the takeaway from the book, is to you know care for the people that are around you, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed.
Yeah, that's a really important point. We often let the little things get in the way, forget about what's most important. So that's a very very good point. What advice would you have for someone in their 20s? Let's say.
uh, do your homework, save your money, and pay attention to everything that's going around you, and don't chase every shiny object. Um, and do things that fulfill you. A lot of people, especially younger, and myself included, when I was younger, we get caught up in the I have to do this because society says so, or I have to do that because society says so, or I have to do this because then people will like me, or I have to do that because I'll be popular, or whatever. And in the end, as life goes on, those things mean less and less and less and less. And what really means more is your fulfillment. I go to California a lot. My wife and I go there a lot, and we spend a lot of time on beaches just watching sunsets. And it might sound simplistic, but every time we do that, we feel like whole people. We we just feel like we're connected to the world, and we just enjoy it. And it's just a thing that we like to do. And I know everybody has their own personal way of being fulfilled in life, and I think that's an important thing. I think the chasing dollars and all that is important, because look, you got to make a living. We got to do what we got to do in the world, but also, yeah, you have to take care of yourself, your personal self, your soul, your head, whatever it is, and make sure that when you go out in the world, you're okay with who you are, and that's some real important stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Um, Give me one relationship advice that will help me in the future.
Oh man, that's tough, man, because if you approach a relationship the way that you should, you put a lot on the table, and you take a lot of risk. And the problem with that is that, with putting a lot out there, and putting yourself at risk like that, you risk really getting hurt. And that's the problem with relationships. It's, we as people, we're guarded a lot. We have these walls that we put up, and that's for self-preservation, really. You don't want to get hurt. um, but my relationship with my other half is such where there are no walls. And I'm so fortunate that I met her when I did, and our lives have evolved to where they are, because she's a wonderful partner, and she's never hurt me, and I can't ever see her ever doing that. But I've been hurt before, you know what I mean? And people will lie to you, and the problem with that is you have to take the chance, because if you don't open yourself up, um, you'll never get what you really truly deserve. So there's a lot of risk out there, and my advice is, yeah, take the risk. You're probably going to get hurt, but in the long run, eventually it'll make sense.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. It is kind of hard at times, especially when you have a lot of doubt, and social media is really not helping
Oh
because more
no.
often than not, it just emphasizes the negatives, and you're bombarded with all the negative experiences. Probably one that you haven't had yourself, and then
Oh yeah.
suddenly you're acting as if you had it when you haven't, and when your environment is completely different. Um, it's just what it is, though. It is what social media is, and it's important for us to be cautious on there with what we do, what we say, what we consume. I think what we consume is probably the most important one, but all those are extremely important. My last question for you:
Hmm.
teach me something in life that I do not know.
Oh, that's going to be hard because I have no idea what your background is. But I'll tell you something though. A guy once told me that if you learn three things a day, that you're doing better than anybody else around you, because most people will not learn three things a day. And to this day, I I don't live my life by that credo, but it's always in the back of my head. I'm like, how many things did I learn today? Did I learn one thing? Did I learn two things? If I learn three things in a day, really seriously learn three things in a day, I'm absolutely content because I know, that I'm an active participant in the world. You're a bright guy. You're doing, your own show and stuff like that. And I'm sure you're learning three things a day, but most people don't. But it's just something that he said to me. And this is a guy said this to me like 20 years ago. To this day, I still think of that, not every day, but every once in a while, I'm like, did I learn three things today? I don't know. Maybe. Let's see. No, I didn't learn three things today. Or some days I'm like, oh, I learned like half a dozen things today. Oh boy, But that'd be my piece of advice.
That's amazing. I just learned one thing today, so that was really cool. Like right
There
now.
you go. There you go.
Yeah. No, I really like that advice. I think we let time go by without spending it as wisely as we could, and as much as every now and then we do need to let loose per se, because like we can't live in constant stress and whatnot.
True.
Um, but still, like I'm looking at some of the people around me. I'm looking at myself sometimes, and I'm like, you could do better. I'm just like, you could definitely do better. So yeah, I'm working on it. And I always encourage people to work on it as well. That will be it for me. Do you have any last words that you would like to add?
If I could I show the cover of the book once?
By all means, yeah, yeah, go for it,
Oh, cool.
please.
This is the cover of my book, and this
Nice.
is the back cover of the book. Like that's me. That's the guy right
Hey,
there.
nice.
But it's available on Amazon as a paperback. It's available on Audible as an audiobook, and it's something that I'm really proud of. And I wanted to just say this to you too. Thanks so much for having me on the show. And I like what you're doing. It's fun. The questions and the words was fun too, and I had a really good time.
Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. And just heads up, it will be available on the description of every platform that it's on. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you everyone else for listening. I appreciate that. Have an amazing day, everyone, and take care. Bye.